I'm at the Indore branch of ICI, and I just landed an hour back only. And so it was a very close call because I have another session lined up immediately after this session. So, but thankfully it could pay off well, and I am now in front of you. At least we can have an interaction for it 2 hours or so. Uh, the discussion that today we'll be having will be on CBS or bank branch audit under CBS environment. Uh, there are a lot of ups and downs right now into this banking related aspects. Due to COVID also, there are a lot of changes. Then there are a lot of special dispensations which are there given by Reserve Bank of India through Ministry of Finance as well. And then there were certain issues with respect to an order, interim order passed by Supreme Court of India, which was vacated. The stay was vacated, I think, 3 days back only, and that has now created a ripple effect. Now the bankers were ready to put through only through the prudent provision rather than the actual provision, and now probably they may need to work it on to compute the entire provision. Let's see how it turns out to be, and hoping that no more surprises would be there in store from RBI. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for all of us to cope up with that in the last fag end of the year, and when we would be starting our auditing. So with that, let's start with bank branch audit in the CBS environment, the session for the day. Few disclaimers from my side. These are my personal views and not to be considered with the views of ICI, Regional Council branch, or of my firm. It should not be considered as an professional advice. Images, screenshot, menu code, software name, etc. are the property of respective software developer and trademark owners. And information in this presentation is not for commercial purpose. It is merely for guidance. Now, when we talk about various packages that are there in vogue right now under different banks, predominantly we can say that there are 3 packages, 4 versions. Finacle is currently having 2 active versions. That is Finacle 7 and Finacle 10. Then comes the FlexCube and then TCS banks. Last 2 are not used in India, but the other part of the world. So our discussion would be revolving around these software menu codes. There are certain limitations through which I cannot share video or images of menu or how exactly it can be carried out, because there are certain violations that would be there. So what our discussion would be, I have just now shared this presentation, that is the background material, then a detailed write-up, and I think one more, I think a circular or something I have shared, that is LFAR circular, or the fraud master circular. So you all will be getting that through branch. So what we'll be discussing is this, that is this one, parameters affecting NP identification. So wherever there are issues with parameters or how to carry out activity through CBS LFAR requirement, everything we would be syncing it with the system. So meaning thereby, if you want to carry out this particular activity, then how you can do it through the system, right? So that is where our entire presentation would be focusing around. This entire presentation is about 105 slides. I'll not be in a position to finish it off that, because that requires about 7 hours. But the presentation is kept in such a way that you can use it for a background, as a background material, or when you go to any branch, you can make use of this particular material. Right. The detailed write-up is also to support this material, so that at least you can get in narrative form certain aspects of CBS and how to carry out audit under different scenario, and which menu commands and menu codes would be useful, or which report code or which report we should be making use of there at that point of time. So that's how this entire presentation is structured. I would like to start with an important amendment or update, that Reserve Bank of India has issued once again a fresh guideline on automation of income recognition and assets classification and provisioning processes in bank. It was issued on 14th of September 2020. There's nothing new in the guideline. This same set of guidelines were also issued in 2011, and before that, I think in 2008, Ministry of Finance has also directed banks to automatically classify the NPA through system, that is the CBS, not through other system or manual or conventional method. But somehow again we are at even after 10 years we are at the back to square one, and then that's where the issue is. So what we need to understand from this guideline is this, that this particular circular says that automation of NPA identification, income recognition, provisioning, and generation of returns. Right. So all these four processes must be an automated one. Right. So you cannot do any manual intervention into it. You cannot deviate from the system process. Right. And you cannot work against the system or where it is not prescribed. The activity should be carried out on a daily basis, meaning there were now that is categorically mentioned that the NP identification and upgradation should be this carried out on daily basis, right? So earlier it used to be that the NPS should be identified on timely basis. Now it is on a daily basis. Then comes the downgrading and upgrading through straight through process, meaning thereby that you need to ensure that there is a straight through STP process for identifying the account as NPA as well as upgrading the account from NPA to PA. No manual intervention, except in a situation where it is required that yes, the manual intervention would be required in exceptional circumstances. In that scenario only, the bank official can make this particular manual intervention with specific approval mechanism, right? Otherwise you cannot work in this way, and you need to go through the automated process only. The best part is here, the date by which the compliance is required to be made is 30th of June 2021. Why I said the best part? Because in 2020 LFAR, that is the revised LFAR, you will find that there are various questionnaire which will be asking you to report certain thing, right? Wherein this all aspects, that is there any manual intervention, whether there is a process is automated or not. So see, one hand they have said that the bank should deploy this entire system by 30th of June. In the LFAR, it is categorically mentioned you need to ask this as a branch auditor question. So now you will be in a catch-22 situation, then what to do? But if LFAR is there, you need to very well report that part, and you need to report whether the system is functional or not, right? So that's the first part. The point is this, that even though the RBI is pressurizing banks and multiple number of time that you need to have an automated process, still there are issues. Still there are issues that there are manual interventions, there are certain corrections or certain fake transactions or incorrect master updation, due to which the system is not in a position to identify the account as NPA. At times it is observed that there are incorrect upgradations have also happened because of such issues. So our today's presentation will be revolving around that aspect. Just a minute. So what we'll be doing is that we'll be first completing the parameters affecting NPA identification. If time permits, we'll also carry out practical aspect for conducting bank branch audit and case studies. And then I'll quickly glance you all through the last two aspects: how to carry out audit through CBS for LFAR tax audit requirement, and certain additional audit requirements that we would be requiring in terms of revised LFAR. So this will include the last part, the second last part would include menu codes duly mapped with the audit activity of all four systems, right? Okay. As discussed in terms of directives issued by Ministry of Finance and Reserve Bank of India, it is mandatory for banks to identify the bad loans through CBS and system instead of conventional method. CBS, as like other software, work on GIGO principle, garbage in, garbage out. You cannot expect magic out of a system. You cannot expect the magic out of a system when you have thrown garbage into it, or the masters are defective ones. Master data play an important role in correct identification of bad loans. Once we'll progress with this particular session, we'll be in a position to understand that even with a minor change into the master, or even with some 1 or 2 transactions, erroneous transaction, how this it can play an havoc kind of a situation into this entire system. So let's go one by one. You can also post your queries into chat box. I'll pause at some point of time and we'll quickly go through your queries, and then we can discuss that as well. First and the foremost thing is that the review of sanction letter with respect to the setting up of EMI or an installment. So if there are any discrepancies with the setting up of EMI or an installment, what would happen? Let's say that see, the major problem that we generally find is that the software through which the sanction letter is generated, or MS Word is used for generation of sanction letter, right? So what happens is that the software through which the sanction letter is generated is either not sync with the system, or MS Word is used wherein you cannot sync that data directly into the system. In that scenario, what happens is, assuming that there is a case wherein the borrower got a sanction letter to pay the amount at 25,000 rupees a month. In the system, it is updated as 10,000 rupees a month with a longer period of loan. Fair enough. Now, what happens is the borrower is required to make payment from 1st of April, that is from first installment in April. So he had paid 25,000 rupees, as against that the system said 10,000 rupees is due, right? So once 10,000 is due, 25,000 is paid, system will say that 15,000 is an overflow amount or an excess recovery. Same way in the month of May, again there will be a 15,000 overflow, that is 30,000. Then again there will be a 15,000 overflow, that is 45,000 as a 30th of June excess recovery. Now, from the month of July, the borrower is not making payment of any installment. So in the month of July, what the system will say, 10,000 rupees is due, but borrower has not paid any money, but borrower still has the excess payment, right? So the system would be nullifying this or mapping this 10,000 against 45,000 extra. So once that is there, so system will say that now 35,000 is only available as excess. In the next month, there will be 10,000 utilization. The system will say that now 25,000 is available, then 15,000. So as on 30th of September, actually the system should have marked that account as NPA. Right. However, the system is still not marking that account as NPA. Reason being, system says that there is an excess payment of this one installment. Right. Now, even in the month of October, November, and December, so that system will also not mark that account as NPA, because at the end of the December, only 15,000 would be displaying as overdue, and that would not be of 90 days. So in the 4th quarter, the particular day, there will be an NPA identification. So the point is this, that in case such things are there into the system, what would be our auditing process? कैसे काम करें? तो सबसे पहले एक ही रहता है कि हम एक एक्सेल फाइल बनाएं. वो एक्सेल फाइल के अंदर हमको जितनी रिक्वायरमेंट्स चेक करनी है वो एक पहले कॉलम में मल्टीपल रोज में लिख दे, and then we mention our sample account details, right? And those sample account details we would be mentioning in the columns, and then we can prepare a matrix whereby we can say that we have verified these many accounts and these aspects. So once you have a session, अगर आपका LFAR का सेशन नहीं हुआ है तो आप LFAR का सेशन कराइए. अगर वो पॉसिबल अभी नहीं है FA एंड के ऊपर, तो आप LFAR के ऊपर आप एक बार पढ़ लीजिए. रिवाइज्ड LFAR जो है उसमें काफी सारे रिक्वायरमेंट्स है, तो वो रिक्वायरमेंट्स आपको फॉलो करने हैं, और वो रिक्वायरमेंट्स के ऊपर से आप एक्सेल का रिक्वायरमेंट बना सकते हैं और मल्टीपल अकाउंट्स बना सकते हैं, जिसके कारण से आपको एक पूरा लिस्ट मिल जाएगा कि आपको कितने अकाउंट में क्या देखना है और आपने क्या देखा है. right? So you should include this part, whether EMI is correctly set up. Second point is whether the periodicity of EMI is correctly set up or not, right? Now borrower को बोला कि महीने में एक बार पेमेंट करना है, that is on monthly basis आपको पेमेंट करना है, जबकि सिस्टम में अपडेट किया है quarterly payment, right? So that also is going to create problem. So whether periodicity is also properly updated or not. Now Finacle, there is a support available at through option ACI, account information, account inquiry, and then you can go to option E for repayment details. So you will have multiple line items under repayment, also known as flow, FLOW, कि कितने रुपए का फ्लो है, इनफ्लो या आउटफ्लो, राइट? जैसे फ्लो बोलते हैं ना, वो फ्लो का एंट्री आएगा, राइट? सो दैट वी कैन वेरी वेल चेक इट. Now it is not only about single type of flow. There can be cases wherein there is a multiple set of EMI that 1 से 5 साल तक वो बोलते हैं कि भाई एक इंस्टॉलमेंट रहेगा जो आपको अमाउंट बताएगा, and thereafter there will be a multiple the other set of EMI. Now what happened was that in one of the branch that we observed that this kind of loans were given. Now they have set up this loans in such a way that in the sanction letter they have mentioned that flow amount will be 10,000 rupees for one first 5 years, and then 15,000 rupees onwards. However, when we went into the system, we found that it was updated as 5,000 rupees for first set, that is for first 5 years, and 1 lakh rupees from the other. Now, the problem is this, that is it feasible, a person who is making payment of 5,000 rupees on a monthly basis up to 5 years, can he start, or will he start making payment of 1 lakh rupees from 6th year onwards? It can't be, right? So you need to be having a pragmatic approach. You need to understand how this setup is done. But at least this user might have ensured that this account would not become NPA because the borrower is informed something else, right? And he will be making payment of, or if he skips 2 or 3 installment, then also there should not be any problem, right? So please understand that. Also, in case of, if you find during this verification of advances any excess repayment, then also please check that, right? Whether this is correctly appearing into the system that there is an excess payment, or there is some issue with updation into the system, right? So in case there is an updation into the system, please check it from the beginning, that whether all the installments or the overdue amount is properly recomputed by the system or not, right? So that is what is very important aspect into this one. Again, the same set of system support is available, DLTL under banks and ACI under Finacle. Then comes this system determined asset classification vis-a-vis user defined asset classification. This part we can get in some of the Finacle 7 systems, wherein there are multiple classification, asset classification available. That is, system will also classify and user will also classify. But at the end of the day, whatever user has said would be considered as final, right? So what happens is that in such scenario, probably for an account, you will find that system says that this account should be marked as NPA, whereas the other part they'll say that this user says that it is a PA. Now in that scenario, in particular, this kind of setup, system is configured in a such a way that user is given the power, and through a script run at the day end, the system determined asset classification is overridden by whatever is mentioned in the user defined. So it may so happen, probably we may not be in a position to get differentiating information through this front end screen. However, if you happen to be at the branch before 31st of March, it may be possible that you may get different classification. In that scenario, please make a note of that account, and then you can carry out detailed scrutiny once you are in April. That is for the main audit, right? There are few systems wherein such kind of report is also that the report for cases wherein there is a difference between the two is also generated, right? In that scenario, what happens is that if we can get that report, that also would be very useful, that why the system is saying this account should be marked as NPA. And once again saying that is, I am of the firm believer that never ever trust a computer system, and I say it with very much authority onto this count. Reason being, the moment you start trusting the system, you lose your logical ability to test the system or to counter the system. राइट हमको हर बार क्या होता है कि यार यहाँ सिस्टम ने बोला है तो बराबर होगा, राइट हमने तो ये रिपोर्ट देखा, राइट सो डोंट गो बाय दैट वे. You just try and understand how the system has generated this report, right? Wherever, whatever information that you are having, I am not saying that carry out a software level review, right? I am not saying that way. So now the issue is that once you understand that part, then only you will be in a position to understand how the system is functioning. Now, this year LFR contains a lot of information from our auditor side, wherein we need to report it based on that information only, right? I am also aware of the fact that we might not be having access to that kind of system or data or this process notes, right? But that's what the things are. Either IRBI would clarify something, or we need to refer it to the guidance note issued or the technical guide issued by Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, that is ICAI. Now, based on that, we need to carry out your audit processes. Now, then comes the manipulation in sanction limit and drawing power. Now, what happens is that I am having a limit of 1 lakh rupees in the account. See, understand these all cases. There are certain things which we cannot speak to, which we cannot express, but there are certain underlying aspects over it, right? So read in between the lines all these points, right? There might have happened something which would not be in line with what the RBI guidelines are, and that's how those issues have found mention into this particular presentation, because these are all actual cases that we have observed during our auditing. Now, so this case is with respect to where I have a limit of 1 lakh rupees. My account is continuously in debit balance in excess of 1 lakh rupees, right? It is a maximum amount is 1,15,000 rupees. Now, what happens is that I have this position is since last 89 days. Now, if tomorrow, I do not clear this off, then my account would be turning into NPA. So what the user might do is that they'll change the sanction limit and DP in my account to from 1 lakh to 1,25,000 rupees. Now, what happens is that at the day end, today's day end, my account would be within the limit, right? So once you say that the account is within the limit, there is no question of a marking of account as NPA. And on the next day, that is once this change is done, on the next day the limit is reset back to 1 lakh rupees. So what happens is that at that point of time the system will start the counter of whether how many days since the account is in excess of the limit. So gone are the 89 days, and once again you have counter starting with day one, right? And this is very common. In fact, one of the auditor had a complaint that they had observed an account whereby that account was the limits were changed in this tandem of account being used for facility. So the limit was 20 crore only, but that borrower used to enjoy about 28 crore up to 38 crore rupees, right? So whatever would be the amount, they'll change the limit, so there will never be any overdue amount into that account, and it would be about more than or almost double the amount, right? And then the auditor found out during scrutiny in this fashion only, and then that account was reported as NPA because of amount getting overdue when you compare it with 20 crore sanction limit, right? So please check this aspect. This is very important, and this requires verification of history part. So you need to check account limit history. So in all the systems that history is available. In Finacle you can go to ACL-HM, that is account limit history maintenance. In TCS banks you can go to deposit CCOD account services and interest rate history. Under that interest rate history, when you go then when you select it from a drop down menu, you will find the DP history as well. Fair enough. In TCS banks there is a report on changes in account limit as well, right? So we can make use of that report as well. So this was on manipulation side. Then comes the incorrect moratorium. Now this time it is going to be a challenge in moratorium as well as restructuring. So what happens is that I got an account opened and I got a limit set up as well. The bank has said that I need to start or my repayment would start from, let's say the sanction was in 1st of July, and my repayment would start from 1st of October 2020. But in system, while updating this, they have updated as moratorium up to 1st of October 2021. So instead of 3 months, they have updated as 15 months. So what will happen is that system will not mark any amount as due. So whatever the user would be, that the borrower would be making payment of, would be considered as excess repayment only. That is overflow amount, right? So in that scenario, what will happen is that in case the borrower skip 2 or 3, this one, then also the system will not mark the account as NPA. So what we need to understand, three aspects: the period of moratorium, second aspect is the installment start date, and the third aspect is interest demand date. So three aspects we need to check. This is fifth point, seventh point, and eighth point, right? So this three aspects we should check. So what we can do is the Excel file that I referred to in during our this first point, you can add these points into that particular aspect. If at all you can get interest demand date and installment start date, the one that is there into sanction letter, then also it is fine. Then you don't need to check the moratorium period. Then comes the cases of reschedulement or rephasement or reschedulement without disclosing it as restructuring, right? So at times it is observed that loan account installments are reshaped, recalibrated without reporting the same as reschedule. Verify whether any change in repayment instruction is made through system. Compare the said accounts with the list of restructured account. Now the problem into this is that we cannot find this restructuring or rephasement into this uh, system through a report form. Maximum what we can do is that we can check through account by account. So at least what we can do is the accounts that we have selected for sample, we can check that is there any rephasement, recalibration of this loan installment. So what you can do is that you can go to ACI repayment detail. It will contain whether the installments have been reshaped or rephased or rescheduled, right? And you can press Control E and you can get earlier installment as well. So through which you can understand that whether there was any change into installment or not, and what was the change, and whether that change is with respect to the reschedulement or a restructuring, right? And then we need to compare it with the accounts reported as restructuring. So this is what the entire process we can do in that respect. Then comes fictitious credit through office account. You have an account wherein the account is within the permissible limit, right? There is no overdue at all. However, the credits into the account are not sufficient enough to cover the debit, interest debit. Now what happens is that based on that also the account would turn into NPA, right? So to overcome that, the user or a person may pass at an entry by debiting office account and crediting the CC account or an OD account. Now, it can be immediately transferred back, stating a reversal of a wrong entry, or there can be it can be transferred after some days as well, right? Now, what happens is in that scenario that it creates an fake credit turnover based on which the system will not classify that account as NPA. So what happens is that system computes the total credit into the account and compare it with the interest debit. So now if the total credit is in excess of the debit that is there into the interest debit, right, then the system will say that no, this is in excess, and system will not even track this account for NPA. But what is the fact of the matter is here is that that is this accounts, these transactions are not genuine one, or not from the business, this one, right? So in that scenario what happens that we need to ignore that with at the time of understanding or at the time of identifying account as NPA, right? So if at all, if you, let's take an example that while reviewing this this type of account, you found that there is some entry which is there, right? In that case, what you can do is you can just ignore that, and you can just check that whether by ignoring this is whether the account will turn into NPA. If so, you need to report it. Not only report it as an MOC or reduction, you also need to mention it there into this manual intervention with a specific fact that the system uh, recognizes this kind of credits also as the genuine credit, and thereby the system is not in a position to identify or differentiate between these two credits, and the system takes care of this, and that's how the system could not mark this account as NPA. Now nobody can do anything into these cases, right? So first and the foremost thing is that please do not leave your audit checking mechanism whereby you need to review the ledgers. So do verify the ledgers. Without verification of ledgers, you cannot complete your audit, right? Irrespective of the fact n number of reports would be available, but don't do that way. You need to review your ledgers, right? And if you find that in a case where the credits are not sufficient, right, and it is out of fluke or some odd day you get a credit, right? So you need to check whether from where the credit is coming in. We'll see if 2 3 more cases as well, how people manipulate the system just to ensure that it won't be caught by the auditors, or it won't be caught by the system as well, right? So that is first aspect, this one. And this is the second aspect, that is the round tripping one. So what happens is that in the system that you don't have the enough turnover. So what you can do is that let's say from party A's account to B's account, B's account to C's account, or from B account again the fund will go back to party A's account. Now back and forth this kind of transactions are happening, right? So what happens is that is only inflating the turnover. So when you check that way, the relationship between the both, right, you find that there is no economic visible benefit from these entries, right? And we don't find anything whether they are debtors or creditors or no one, right? So we don't find any clue out of it. In that scenario, we need to ensure that such credits are not considered for genuine credit for uh, saving the account turning into NPA. So that is first aspect. Again, you can do it through ACLI and deposit ODCC transaction and DLTL transaction. However, I would like to give a word of caution here that a lot of members would say me that, sir, ये तो आप बोल रहे हैं कि यहाँ से देखो वहाँ से देखो, but there is a report called ATOR. You can make use of those that report ATOR. Why are you not suggesting that? So the issue is this, that ATOR contains the credit summation for these kind of entries as well, right? So that is round tripping or through other this one, right? So in that case, ATOR will not give you the correct information, but ATOR is useful when you have an interest debit of some amount and the credit is less than that amount, right? At that point of time, you can make use of this one, and you can review those accounts why these accounts have not been marked as NPA in that cases, right? So round tripping is done. Office this one is also done. Then comes, I think, a TOD, right? So now what happens is that the borrower is not having sufficient funds into this one in borrower account. So a TOD is given in his current account or some other account, and through that account the debit is initiated and the credit is given to uh, the borrower's account. What happens is that with that credit, the borrower account is saved in by turning into an NPA. RBI has issued a category guideline stating that you cannot sanction a fresh loan or you cannot give a fresh loan to repay the existing loans. Anyone is there in administration? There are people waiting in waiting room.
Yes, sir, I am adding them.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
allowing.
yeah. Thanks. Okay, so temporary overdraft also is required to be checked in very minute this manner. What I would suggest is this, that there are multiple way of doing this. One is the important one, that we track it from the source itself. That is that we would be verifying a TOD register. So from TOD register, we will verify that how many TODs have been given. It will serve two purpose. One purpose is that how is there any customer who is taking a lot of TODs? In that scenario, we can observe that yes, if that there is some person, then you need to make a mention of that person into LFAR, right? So that is one point. But once you find that one, that you need to check that what they have done after getting a TOD. So in TOD, you need to understand two, three aspects. First aspect, that is the TOD type. TODs are of three types: single, running, and ad hoc. Right. So what happens is single TOD is a TOD whereby you wanted to pass a single instrument, which was there in this one. At the time of passing of that instrument, the system throws an error that there is no sufficient limit available, right? And there is no balance as well. But if you want to pass that instrument, you give a single TOD, whereby system will allow that single TOD also and that instrument to be passed. So once that is there, there won't be any additional limit available into that account. Whereas the second part is running TOD, and the third part is ad hoc TOD. So the running TOD is a TOD whereby you have a continuous limit for a day or some shorter period. And ad hoc TOD means there is an additional limit that is given for a certain time period. So as an auditor, what we need to do is we need to focus more on to running and ad hoc limits, right? And that running and ad hoc limits, we need to check through TOD report, right? And through TOD report, there is an event type as well, which we need to review. That is TOD MN. That is TOD manual event, right? So you can use TOD MN with TOD running, TOD ad hoc. Fair enough. So this is what we should be doing into, so that we can at least get some information. Once you get the information of a customer ID, you need to search through an account number, and through that account number you need to check that what was how the amount was utilized into that case, right? So whether what was the debit entry immediately after getting a TOD, right? That is what is very important. So you can use ACLI command for that. ACTODM is a command directly for TOD maintenance, and TODRP is for TOD register printing. This ACLI is for transaction. You can read ACI here. ACI for with option O. Just a minute. You can use ACI option O. You can very well use this one ACLI as well. That is account ledger inquiry for transactions. And other than those, there are ACTODM and TODRP. This one. Then comes devolved bills parked in office account and not in limit account. This is a perennial issue that we observe a lot of time, that the banks would open a new account once there is an invocation of guarantee or devolvement of LC. That is actually not the way in which the transaction should be handled. RBI has categorically stated that we need to have a mechanism whereby the LCs, wherever got devolved, or the BG wherever got invoked, should be debited to the limit account, the existing limit account. Or if there is no limit account, then to the current account. That will give an exact position of overdue into the account for the purpose of considering them as overdue, that is out of order status. Right. At times it has been observed that such amounts are parked into some office account. Right. So in that scenario, you will be having a two separate this one. And for that reason, I would always say that first ask that how many LCs got devolved or how many BGs got invoked. Right. So that is first thing. What I generally do is I try and do identify those cases through Finacle, wherever there is a Finacle available. There is a command called BI and FBI, that is bill inquiry and foreign bill inquiry, through which I use the status date filter and status filter. That is status is K, delinking status. And along with that, I would also check the closed bills as well, so that I can understand that how many customers are there where there is an involve the cases of devolvement or invocations are there. Now this point, I just wanted to add one more point here. This year LFAR contains an interesting point, that whether the bank has used the interchangeability of limit in the case wherein the LC got devolved, meaning thereby you had a limit of 100 crores. 75 crores were fund based, 25 crore was non-fund based, out of which 5 crore LC got devolved. So you need to debit it to the, that is, it will be converted to funded. So what they have done is they have converted this entire NFB limit into FB limit now. That is the 5 crore, the amount which got reduced. Meaning thereby what will happen is that particular limit, that particular account would not be turning into an NPA, even though there is an overdrawal by 5 crore, because now your limit is not 75 crore, your limit is 80 crores. Right? Understand this aspect. So any changes in the limit or transfer of limit from non-fund based to fund based post invocation of guarantee or devolvement of LC should be reported into LFAR. Fair enough. This is what is very important for all of us to understand. Then comes multiple cust ID to save the account turning into NPA. Now this is an age-old method. Now there is one more setup which is there, that is UCIC, Unique Customer Identification Code. Right. So once you have a unique customer identification code, you can very well review it, that whether the same is properly implemented or not. One more point that we can do here is that we again are not sure whether this system is properly set up or not, UCIC. Then what we can do is that we can review this report of NPA account report. Now NPA account report, we need to search the name of NPA account and we can just put a search into the PA account report. Right. So that is through which what we can carry out this aspect, and we can search through that one. There are certain Excel external applications also coming up for different type of queries, right? Wherein there is a wildcard queries or some queries, and that can also be used if you are too Excel savvy, right? So that is where the this particular aspect is, right? And we can use certain system menu codes as well. There are 3 excellent commands in Finacle, which we must, rather I will say 4. Right, I mentioned only 2, but you can make a note of it. There are 2 commands to search customer and account. To search an account, you can use a command called CUS. Fair enough. Okay. To search an account, you can use command ACS. Again, both menus are based on search parameters. You can give your parameters and you can review those things. And then comes 2 more commands, that is LAGI and LAOPI. Right. So that is loan account general inquiry and loan account overdue position inquiry. Excellent set of command. Please use this. You will really enjoy that. You will get classic and fantastic result from the system. Only thing is that you need to have some proficiency on working with that one. Otherwise, it will give a fantastic result. Then comes project loans, that is updation recording of DCCO dates. Now, this is a gray area, and probably a lot of banks are still not going ahead with automating this aspect. And this should also become a point in LFAR if the banks have not automated this process. Now, it refers to the cases, the project loan cases, wherein the date of commencement of commercial operation, that is the projected date, extended date, and the actual date is not updated into the system. Now, when the project is not completed within the prescribed period, the system should actually mark that account as NPA. However, this activity is generally uh, done into the system that is a manual system. So what happens is the user would say that yes, this account is to be marked as NPA. So the moment you have this system, which is a manual system, there will be an issue. So now when you see this, you need to also check that whether the classification of advance is properly mentioned or not, whether infra non-infra part is mentioned properly or not, right? So that way it is very important, because it gives different time period available for project loans. One more aspect that was observed that was the case of failed restructuring cases. Now, what happens is that the account got restructured some time back, and at that point of time, this account got restructured, and then the new set of payments were introduced. The borrower has also started making payment for 2 months, 3 months. Thereafter, again, borrower is showing some stress and has not made payment of any installment. Now, in that scenario, what happens is that you have a failed restructuring, and whatever is the amount that was paid would be knocked off against the prior to restructuring. What was the uh, parameters, or what were the requirement, or how this it was set up earlier, and based on that, they'll ignore the restructuring this one, and then they'll use this one, the repayment received, against that part, and they'll arrive at some date of NPA. So what happens is that that date of NPA would be required, that may be the past period as well, but the system is not configured enough to identify accounts as NPA for these cases. So in that scenario, what we need to do is that we need to check that whether system is configured for this or not. In case of an LFAR, we need to report that part, that whether there is any manual intervention. Yes, there is generally a manual intervention in both these cases, right? So you can very well mention that part into LFAR. Effect of COVID-19 and stay by Supreme Court of India. Now, as such, currently there is no stay, because 3 days back the stay got vacated, right? What we need to understand is that since the stay got vacated, and as of now, as of this point of time, RBI has not issued anything with respect to how to go ahead, or any special dispensation, additional thing that they wanted to give. If nothing comes up, then the accounts would be turning into NPA, and they those accounts will turn into NPA. Only thing is that one uh, school of thought says that since there was an interim order in vogue to not to mark the account as NPA, you cannot have any date between those dates as an NPA date. But I beg to differ with that opinion. I would believe that since there is no stay right now, it was only an interim order. Once you have a final order, there is no sanctity of an interim order from that perspective. So I don't find there any merit into it. But again, that goes from person to person, right? But the important part is that for 2 quarters, banks had stopped marking accounts as NPA, right, based on this particular order. So in that scenario, that what would have been done with the system classification implementation? So my personal opinion is that if the bank had stopped it with this manual intervention, then that should also form part of LFAR, this year LFAR, stating that because of this order, there was a manual intervention done by the system at the head office level. right? So please mention that that's a statement of fact, right? Whether there is manual intervention, yes, there was a manual intervention, right? So that's what I wanted to say into the first part. Any queries are there?
Sir, at this point of time, I don't have any query in my chat box. Maybe we can take up at the end of the
No,
program.
no, I think something is there. Oh, sorry, I got it at direct message.
Oh yeah,
Wait
I
a
don't
minute,
have.
wait a minute. I'll read out.
Yeah, sure.
Right. First is feedback. Please share your PPT and other material. Yeah, I already
That
shared.
we will share from
Yeah.
branch ID. I've received it, and we
Hmm.
will share post program.
Yeah. Pankaj Dubeji, you will get that. He shared feedback as well. That's I acknowledge your part, sir. Vidhi has a question, sir. As in banks, we have CCOD and loan balance file giving details of advances. How to generate similar file in Finacle? Balancing does not give out details like DP limit renewal date. Right. See, Vidhi, you will have a report that would be available, but again, from bank to bank, it differs. So I am not entering into that domain. But what we need to do is that it's not from a system. Actually, it is the report would be available in the day and year end folder. That is a report folder. So you need to request the bank to include all advances report. And this time it is not only advances report. You need to also ask for the non-fund based limit as well, because under LFAR, the limit now for 10% or 10 crore limit is FB plus NFB, right? So even in the balance file, whatever you are getting the balancing file, right, that the balancing file will not be including the CC and the bank guarantee. So one issue that probably you may face is that banks do provide soft copy of those printable form where you have multiple lines, 4 lines, right, like a uh, notepad file, text file, right? So what we need to probably do, that will contain everything. So we need to merge those lines, 4 lines, right, with in Excel with end, and then you need to split those ones, and then you can prepare. That is called a printable format, multi-line format. And what you want is the flat file, that one account, one information in one single row, right? So that again you need to check with the bank only. But this time you need to categorically mention that I want this detailed report in terms of revised LFAR. If something does not comes up to you, you can very well report it into LFAR stating that we have not been provided with the data in a specific format or something. Fair enough, but at least go ahead with that. The report would be available if not in flat file. See, CCOD probably gives us certain thing into flat file and certain thing into the reportable format only, right? That is a multi-line format. But that is also available in Finacle. Balancing is, yes, there is a report, but may not be suitable. Richa has a question that please explain that LFAR point with respect to devolved bills. Sure. I have a request for all the participants that whenever you send a message, right, you send a message to everyone, right, so that at least this branch staff would be in a position to track the queries that are there. What I'll, any case, I'll verify my chat box. There is not an issue. But if I ask something to them, they'll have that there is nothing into the chat box. Right. Okay. So with respect to the devolved bills, let's understand this aspect once again. See, you have a limit of 100 crores, right? 75 crores you have already exhausted. You are exactly at 75 crore. Not a single rupee balance is available under this fund based limit, right? And you have also exhausted 25 crore guarantee as well as this letter of credit. Right. So what happens is that when you get a letter of credit facility and guarantee facility there, uh, in case what has happened is that, let's say 5 crore LC got devolved. So what happens is that 5 crore will be added to 75 crore to the forceful TOD, right? And hence the account will go into overdue, right? So what happens is that a lot of banks have invented something like that. If I don't want any overdue amount, because otherwise what will happen कि 5 करोड़ का जो LC डिवॉल्व हुआ है वो 75 में डालेंगे तो 80 हो जाएगा, और लिमिट कितना है 75, और NFB का लिमिट कितना है 25, उसके अंदर यूटिलाइज कितना है 20, बिकॉज 5 करोड़ तो फंड में आ गया ना। तो अभी सिस्टम में वो लोग क्या करते हैं कि इंटरचेंजेबिलिटी ऑफ लिमिट को इन्वोक करते हैं, और यहाँ जो 5 करोड़ पड़ा हुआ है ना एनएफबी में, वो एनएफबी में से 5 करोड़ उठा के एफबी में डालते हैं, तो एनएफबी में 20 करोड़ रह गया, फंड बेस में 80 करोड़ हो गया। तो 80 करोड़ हो गया, तो वो 80 करोड़ के सामने 80 करोड़ का बैलेंस है, तो देयर इज नो ओवरड्यू एट ऑल। See, these are all window dressing only. RBI has categorically mentioned that if something is happening like this, please report it in audit report. If because of this, if you find that the account would have turned into NPA, then please report that. Is that clear, Richa? Yeah. Any other questions, sir? इसमें Q&A नहीं है ना? इसमें chat
No,
box.
sir. We don't have a Q&A.
Okay. Okay.
है ना? So it is requested to members if they have any queries, they can post me on my chat box. So I will ask to the speaker at the later part of this session. So now you can continue.
Yeah, just give me a minute. I need, because this the next session are following up on phone call. I'll just send them a detail that they had asked for. Just a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Otherwise, they'll keep on calling me. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what we can do is now is that we can go ahead with the practical aspect for conducting bank branch audit and case study. So in this particular aspect, what I would like to say is that we have this time a new LFAR. So we need to recalibrate, reshape our entire audit strategy, how we should be doing it, and what are the issues right now, burning issues are there, and to cope up with those burning issues, how we should carry out the processes, right? So that's what I've included. I've included few of the external systems as well, that through these external system we can get a lot of information, right? So that's what we would be discussing now. Under LFAR, they have mentioned that the revised LFAR, that the limit of there is a threshold limit that is mentioned, that 10% of total advance or 10 crore, whichever is lower, that account is required to be verified in detail, and transaction audit is required to be carried out. Now, the moment you say that transaction audit is required to be carried out, it will be a difficult task. Reason being, we need to at least review those transactions which are debit, credit in nature, right? And we need to report in case any discrepancies have been observed, like diversion of fund, or fictitious credits, or genuineness of credit, and because of the credit, the account could not be marked as NPA, right? Likewise, so that is where we need to ensure that we verify it in detail. So first and the foremost is that with respect to the credit side, so review the book debt statement and other lender details if at all available in financial statement, and through which just check that whether operative account entries which are originating from operative account are from the debtors or related entities, right? So that is the first process. Or is there any entry that is flowing in from related parties, right? Same way for account debit, we need to review the list of creditors if obtained along with the book debt statement, right? And whether payments are made to creditors or to the related entities. See, everywhere you will find the issues are with aspect of related party only. So that is creating a lot of issue, because wherever we hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So at any point of time we find any of the fraud that is reported at any point of time, they'll always say that there was a diversion of fund. The funds were routed to the related party and kind of thing, right? So, and again, it is a very difficult point as well. So what we need to do is that we need to ascertain the related party for the borrowers. We can do it from MGT 9. We can do it from AOC 1, AOC 2, shareholder disclosure in balance sheet, related party transaction as per AS 18, accounting standard 18, form 3CD, you will have a payment to related parties. right? So these are few of the areas or few of the sources from which we can get this related parties identified, and whether the funds are coming in from that person or funds are going in that person or not, we can review it. Then comes, there are certain use of third party portals, visually Toffler and Zuba Corp and etc. That gives you an excellent graphical and structured report on potentially related enterprises. There are multiple identifiers for such kind of cases. The predominant one is that the director in multiple companies, right? So it will give you the list of those companies where the director is common, right? And the more so is that in Zuba Corp, you can get the details of companies at the same address. Now that is going to be a very important one, and we can very well make use of that one. So you can use these websites. These are, I think, free. Most of the portion are free, and for certain other portion, these are the paid ones. We need to carry out in-depth review of in case the account is with low turnover or few credit debit or account showing some stress. Then comes frequent TOD. When a borrower is asking for TOD again and again, we need to check that whether uh, there is an issue with or assessment of requirement, right? So if that is the case, then is there any need to reassess this working capital gap or requirement? Then we need to mention that part. Then comes whether borrower is having sufficient resources for increased limit. First and the foremost thing is that whether borrower is in a position to repay that one. If that is the case, then it should be reviewed on that count. If no, then there are chances that borrower is under a stress, right? So if the borrower is under a stress and there are frequent TODs, first and the foremost thing is that we need to report it in LFAR. So once you have an LFAR reporting done, you also need to check that whether this TOD is used to just to circumvent this asset classification or overdue this one. If that is the case, then we need to report it as NPA. There is a relaxation to MSME one-time restructuring the facilities there, and with respect to COVID also there are special dispensation. These are the systems that I would say that you all should be using. That is, one is IDMPS and EDMPS. This time LFAR contains that there are various uh, early warning signals wherein you find that there is a fake import or an export bill. How to identify whether the bill is fake or genuine one, right? So you can make use of IDMPS, EDMPS. Now the banks would have limited access to IDMPS, EDMPS, that the bank branches, right? It may so happen that the bank branch uh, does not have this particular access to this IDMPS, EDMPS, right? But in that scenario, what happens is that the branches generally have the mirror image of IDMPS, EDMPS. Assuming that that is also not available, then we can make use of IceGate portal. You can go to IceGate and you can access the bill of entry and shipping bill details. There will be minimalistic information available because this is an completely open environment, right? So there will be a minimalistic information, but we can make use of that and we can at least ascertain, yes, the bills are genuine and have been recorded into the system, right? Then comes the Vahan system. This is the excellent system that is available to cross check the type of vehicle finance. In one of the case, one of the auditor reported that there was a finance of about 70 lakh rupees against some high-end car, and against that, when the funds went through and when the documents were there available at the branch, they just checked it with Vahan portal, and based on the registration number received from the borrower, then they found that under Vahan portal, that particular low vehicle is uh, is a three-wheeler, right? So there was, and then they started inquiring with the person that is a dealer. Then that dealer also turned out to be a fake dealer, and there was some connivance of this branch employee as well into it. So what I can say is that in case of this vehicle loan, if the bank is not following this system, then we can very well, as an auditor, we can very well check it on a Vahan system, and we can check that whether details of the vehicle are matching with what is there into the banking system, right? So that is, you can do it through SMS as well as you can do it through website. FCRA online services, MCA, GST, income tax, some of the information available into there as well, which we may use it. Then comes the willful defaulter and suit filed cases. We can use the suit.civil.com, or we can refer to the bank's website for willful defaulters cases, right? So that should be verified. The important database that we should be verifying would be Cyrillic database, right? So the Cyrillic database is an excellent set of database which is there for cases wherein there is multiple banking arrangement or a consortium finance for a borrower having limit of in excess of 5 crore, right? So in that scenario, all the borrowers are required to, all the lenders are required to report under Cyrillic that what is the status of that borrower in their system, right? So if any of the borrower is showing some stress into this one Cyrillic database, then the other banks can also create an adequate provision or the resolution. They can invoke the resolution mechanism, right? So that is what is very important. Then comes the credit rating reports, CIBIL reports, and other reports. So there is one app which I would suggest you can also download if you want to. There is an app for GST data. You can either review it through GST portal, or there is an app called Peridot. It is developed by Iris Software in partnership with FICCI. That particular app actually generate data from this GST portal only. And what it does is that whenever there is a GST number printed, you can keep your mobile there and you can just switch on your camera through the app. It will automatically capture that data, and then you can get it on phone that what is the basic detail about that borrower. So you don't need to punch in those CAPTCHA code or kind of thing, right? And then you can see the filing table as well, whether the person is filing the returns on timely basis or not, right? So that is also a good thing that we should have it in our hand, right? Any questions here up to this in chat box?
No, sir. At this point of time, just one query from Richard Aloriji. Is it possible to provide revised LFAR along with suggested interpretation?
Revised LFAR, you can download from,
We can download. We will provide her the same.
okay.
We are having a presentation.
Yeah. You can download it from this RBI website. If you want, I can also send, but probably I'll send it after some time. But in any case, it is only a circular from this one, RBI. As far as audit process is to be carried out, see, this particular CBS topic is also very lengthy, and to speak continuously, it is also an issue for us as a speaker as well, because it creates a lot of pain into throat once we complete this session for continuously 2 hours, and having a back-to-back 2 more hours, it is a very cumbersome process. But so I cannot speak on to LFAR much into this one. But if you want, whether you had a session on LFAR or
we had a session.
you already had. Okay,
might be possible she might not be there.
Do is that the PPT of that one also you can share.
Yeah, I will.
Right. Okay. So now we are going on to the case study aspect. These are a few of the case studies wherein we had observed something very shocking from the lender side. On your screen there is an borrower's this one accounts are there. There are 4 accounts of that borrower. There was not a single rupee of credit into that borrower's account, right? The interest charge was about 26.10 lakh rupees, and there was not a single rupee credit, and then also the accounts were not marked as NPA. When we went into detail, we found that why the system has not marked these accounts as NPA. We found that there was a curated new loans were sanctioned for this in having a credit specifically into each account, right? And these were the credits that were there, right? And with that credit, the system considered that part as the proceed, that is the normal credit proceeds, and based on that, system did not identify the account as NPA, right? So please understand that there should not be any account which will be uh, having a credit from a new loan that is generated, or new loan that is sanctioned, should not have a disbursement just to overcome, or just to you can say remove this overdue amount from the existing loan, right? So that part is very much important for all of us to review, right? So please check that aspect into your auditing. Now this is the case. Now the thing will start murkier from this side, this point, or on this point onwards. This was the case wherein the borrower had an account which was there. That account was nearing to 90 days overdue because of a running TOD which got expired in the month of January, right? So in that scenario, what happened was that to overcome that part, and the borrower did not have money, but to ensure that the account is not turned into NPA, that in one of the current account of a related person to the borrower, a TOD was given, right? So to get out of the earlier TOD, they have given a new TOD this time, right? So this TOD was having a date of 16th of March. The moment the TOD was given into the account, there was a debit transaction from that account to the borrower's account, right? So that's why that through that borrower's running TOD, which was running into a debit balance, got recovered, and that TOD was closed out. But the new TOD was it came into existence. So what these users used to do was that on quarterly basis they used to rotate through the new TODs, right? So that's how this entire chain started. However, we could verify in between the time, and we identified and we marked these accounts as NPA. Now see that what is there in the screen. 9 crore credit, 9 crore debit, 3 crore credit, 3 crore debit, 9 crore credit, 9 crore, right? Kind of thing. There were about 100 crore transactions total amount, right? With the same amount debit, same amount credit, right? So see, there are certain things where it doesn't meets to the eyes, and there are no visible economic benefit. In that scenario, we need to see to it that why this has happened, why a person would do like this way, right? And once you go through that part, probably there might be an inflation of credit turnover, or there might be something else as well, right? Otherwise, see, if you see the balance, that there is no change in the balance at all, right? So we need to be very cautious with this kind of aspect. Then comes a case wherein the direct TOD was not given. Otherwise, we as an auditor would be in a position to catch hold of that. So in that case, what happened was the customer's current account got a TOD. With that TOD, the customer withdrew the amount. And exactly at the same time, that's immediately after that transaction, there was a deposit transaction of cash into customer's account, right? So that was a clear-cut case of allowing TOD for allowing TOD for new loan, that is the existing loan repayment, right? And that's how we need to check. Now to check this, what you need to do is you need to go to the teller account. So once the teller account, you can see that is there any combination or something is there into this account, then only you should be in a position to check such kind of aspect. So it is like we are chasing certain aspect, and once we get that part, earlier they used to do it simply through the fictitious credit debit, right? And but then there is an audit trail. So then they used to do it through TOD from some other account. Now that also has a audit trail, but this cash is a mode through which there is no audit trail. And because of that, probably they have started using this kind of thing, right? So that was the point that we found. And now see this one. In this case, the customer was having 5 accounts. 3 were turning out to be bad. That not a single rupee deposit was there into that one. Now, what happened was that on fag end of the period, there was a credit entry through cash on 30th of March into 3 of the accounts. So what happened was that on an apparent this one we found that yes, there is a cash deposit, but the borrower might have managed something because they might have pressurized the borrower. But when we looked into detail, we found that the cash was deposited after the banking hours, that is at 5:14, right? So we went into the teller account and we found that the teller has already closed the cash at 5:01. Otherwise, see, once you close the cash, you generally don't do it any other transaction, but probably there might be the case wherein they might have done it, right? So at 5:01 the cash was closed. At 5:14 the cash deposit started up to 5:18. Fair enough, for 48 lakh of rupees, about 8 transactions, right? So we thought probably that the last moment cash whatever they would have received, they would deposit into the vault once again. So there may be 2 entries in a day by for transfer of the fund to the vault. But then the surprising thing came in was this one, that they did not deposit any additional this one amount into that main cash. Instead, there were 2 customers. The other 2 customer of this borrower group were ready with the check of 24 lakh in aggregate, that is 48 lakh, and they have shown that they have withdrew the money, meaning there was not at all a single exchange of note or anything. There were only purely the system entries, right? So then we went into the detail of that customer. We thought if he had 48 lakh rupees, then why would have done this kind of thing, right? Then we found that they were also not having the funds. Instead, they got the TOD of 24 lakh plus 25 lakh, and with that TOD they could withdraw the cash and they could deposit back into this account. So now 2 TODs and 3 accounts, 5 accounts would be marked as NPA, right? Because of the fraudulent this one. Then the 6th case study is the on and diversion of fund. That is the loan of about 3.5 to 4 crore was sanctioned to a farmer from an urban this one staying in Ahmedabad. Uh, all the set of documents were there of the farmland and everything, so there was no problem at all into that count. But the problem started when we started verifying when we verified this utilization part. So when we checked the utilization part, we found that major portion went into the immovable property business of that borrower, and then one of the portion went for purchase of an Audi car, right? But not a single amount went for agri purpose. So now the borrower used this benefit of low interest rate, or the you can say that got a longer period of NP identification, that based on the short-term crop and long-term crop duration. Had it been the case that he would have taken a vehicle loan, he would have to repay within 90 days, that is without turning that account into NPA, right? Whereas in this, your Audi car loan is being tracked for NPA based on short-term crop and long-term crop, including harvesting time. It was clearly a joke only. There was priority sector lending also was vitiated with this one. So do review such kind of accounts where there is an interest rate benefit is available, or you can say this EPCPCFC account. And if there is a diversion of fund, please report it in LFAR. Don't stay back therein. And if you find it with clear cut this one that yes, there is an error, then always try and push for the case wherein that account should be reclassified as the related aspect, right? So if he has used it for real estate business, right, then it may be termed as the commercial on a real estate side, and whatever are your percentages of everything, that is NP identification, your Basel norms, and everything should have been changed, including the rate of interest. So all that MOCs are required to be passed for the finalization time, right? And one more aspect, and the best part is that what will happen if some political party announces that there will be complete waiver of loan. So probably he may get benefit of that as well, right? So see, nothing can be said that it cannot happen in our country, right? So that's all what is unexpected or something is there, right? And that's what we have an issue. I think last yesterday or day before yesterday at night you got a circular that you should have an accounting system software wherein you should have a log, wherein the backdated updation should not be there, and blah blah blah, whatever was there. They gave at least, they have given a 1 week time. Now how can you change your entire system into 1 week time, and that too you have 2 to 3 holidays, and the COVID cases are rising? In that, how can you expect the person would be working on that? But that's what I have said, everything can happen. This is the last case study wherein a classic case has happened, in which there was a consortium advanced a big account, about 5,000 crore account, 5,000 crore limit account. The borrower, this bank where we were auditing, had a share of about 10% into that one. So you can say that it translates to about 500 crore. There are this the security was in tune of 4,000 crores. So the attributable portion to the bank where we were auditing is 400 crore, meaning thereby the loan was this loan was unsecured by 100 crore. Now what happened? While verifying the provisioning, we found that there was not a single rupee of amount of provision that was created in the system report. So when we inquired, we found that instead of updating 400 crores, the user had updated into system 4,000 crore at the available security. That is the available at a consortium level, not as a individual bank level, right? So we had to give MOC for that one. And the moment we give MOC, there will be increase in provisioning by, let's say, 25%. Then this 25 crore, right? You can now just imagine what would have been the impact onto the financial. But yes, you need to work onto that way. So with that, I have completed the case study as well. Let me check the chat box if something is there, someone has written or not. I think I am not in a position to see anything.
Same here, sir. I don't have any queries.
Yeah. सर, आवाज बराबर आ रही है, पता तो चलता है ना, ऐसा नहीं है ना कि कुछ ब्रेक हो रहा है ऐसा कुछ?
ना नहीं आवाज इट्स प्रॉपर सर.
या बिकॉज़ क्वेरीज नहीं आ रही है तो टेंशन रहता है कि लोग को सुना ही नहीं देता, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है ना?
नहीं.
Yeah, not an issue. Okay, so what we'll do is now I'll quickly go through this other part of the presentation. We'll explain that how it is structured and how you can make use of that, and then we'll wind off this session. Right. So now the second point, the third point into this presentation is identification of revenue leakage. This time under LFAR, you have a specific point wherein that whether interest rate is correctly updated and whether interest wherever there is an interest which is benchmarked to external benchmark or an internal benchmark, whether the rates are being reviewed at the end of each review or not, right? So that is what is important one for us to consider this one, right? So based on that, I have prepared certain slides wherein there might be an issue with interest application in case you find such kind of events, right? So that is what is mentioned into this particular this one. I'll just show you. This is various interest parameters which you can refer to, and some important commands are also mentioned. And these are few of the reasons for non-application, wrong application of interest by CBS. Then comes foreign exchange transaction. There are plenty of aspects which are there in foreign exchange. The first, this one point, that is a changed one under liability and deposit, though related to foreign exchange. It refers to FCNRB deposit, whether automatic renewal is there or not. If there is an auto renewal mechanism available, then whether a non-resident tag is first confirmed before auto renewing FCNRB. Now, how this would be there for a statutory audit, I have my doubt. But since it is there in LFR, we need to now report it. So what would be the audit process that we can carry out? So that is what is mentioned here. Then there is an annexure for LFR. So this is what the annexure and requirement, how to carry out audit for foreign exchange in this manner. Then comes office accounts. Office accounts are most vulnerable accounts, wherein it can be misused by a lot of bank officials, or to save the account turning into NPA, or to hide certain frauds, or a lot of things, right? So we need to understand which are the type of office accounts, and how which are the issues that we may generally find. So these are the type of office account based on functionality and entry, and then these are the points that we should have verified. Now comes the audit activity through CBS, LFR, and tax audit requirement. Now, what I have done is, let me first, what I have done is that it is bifurcated into two parts. First part, what to verify, and the second part, source from where to verify, right? So you want to verify cash, right, as on 31st of March. Then in Finacle, you can go to ACLI. In banks, you can go to these commands. In FlexCube, you can go to these commands. So once you go there, you can verify and you can have this point. So what I have done is I have mapped this audit activity with the CBS commands. Fair enough. So what you need to audit, you can prepare, or you need to you can add it up, and from where to do it, or which are the menu codes which would be useful. So this menu code level mapping is done, right? So that will be very useful to you. So that is on balance with RBI SBI. In advance is about 13 or 14 different type of review verification is mentioned into this particular presentation. So that is sanction limit. Then there is an account customer master parameter and standing instructions, right? So you can see that there are plenty of commands available, and this entire presentation I have shared, so don't worry about it, right? You will get this one. There is no issue into this one. Rather, the detailed write-up is also there. You can make use of that. That is also about 28 pages, A4 size pages, right? So that will also be very useful to you. Interest rate history. Now this year, that's very important, interest rate history. Please review this history part, right? So these are all the points that are there. This time, lien marking LFR, they have categorically stated that whether lien is marked onto the FD as well as into the system or not. In any case, we were verifying this, but this time they could identify and they could understand, the RBI could understand, yes, this point is missed out, right? So this time they have changed it. Stationery, then suspense and sundry account, interbranch account, TDS related, if 3CD is under your purview. Now then, few of the important reports, whichever are the reports that are available, please check those reports, especially these reports, the one where I have discussed it here. Exception report generated of a month end as well as 2 or 3 days prior and post, right? So that may give you some exceptional information. What's the type of exceptions that would be tracking? That would be balance exceeded account limit, manual debit to income account, validated transactions, manual entry for SI, that is standing instruction, failure cases, instruments passed against clearing. Now, these are the important exceptions. We should track that. Then comes irregularity report. Report for the month end should be reviewed. Even before month end, you can also check it that how come a few of the accounts which are almost turning into NPA vanish from this report. So you can do that only when you have the previous some days report, right? Rather than going on a quarter end exactly, because at quarter end probably there might be the things might have been matched on a proper manner, right? So you may not find any issue there. This two reports you might not get, or you might find it an issue in getting this. However, you, at least for the first part, what you can do is you can ask for an advances report that is containing all account, and into that interest rate, effective interest rate would be available. The cases wherein effective rate is 0, we should be reporting into an audit report. And revenue leakage as well. Now, this report is very important this time. Reason being, it will contain a list of all accounts with the limits, right? And this time LFR, as I have said, 10% and 10 crore, right? Both are the limits are there. And this report would serve the purpose. You need to select top 5 standard accounts as well from this report. This report will also have information on limits, and through which you can check that how many accounts where stock audit is applicable, how many cases wherein the credit rating is required to be obtained, right? How many cases are there which are consortium advance and diligence report is required to be opted. So these are the points that are there with respect to this particular report. Then come, this is also important. Why? Because again, there is a change in LFR this time, that whether SMA reporting is properly carried out in the branch or not. So you need to get a report on probable NPA, health code account, special mention account, or also known as this special mention account, watch list account, right? So name can be anything different, but we need to obtain that report, and we need to check with the overdue report whether the correct classification of SMA is carried out or not. Now the report of NPA account report will contain list of all NPA accounts. So what we need to do is we need to generate a report for this year, the prior, that is 31st of March 2020, and if possible the quarter ends, right? That will give you an insight about the movement of NPA customer wise. So if customer is there as an NPA, then again PA, NPA, PA, or NPA, 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 right? So that will give you an insight about a particular customer who is failing in his duty to repay the loans. This is the last part. I think someone had asked me to take LFR, but since you already had, I'll not plunge into that aspect. But I would, since I have shared my presentation, you will get this also as a part of this one. So what I have done is that you need to prepare, you need to read at least 3 to 4 times LFR. Once that is there, you need to start with 2 blank LFR. One would be where in the type of in the right column you will be reporting that how many reports you will require from the bank, or how much information you require from the bank, right? So prepare a laundry list, complete list, and send it as an email or whichever way you are working with that bank, and ask for that details. Though any of the details, or what you can do is that you can simply copy mention that against LFR requirement, and you can send that file only, right? So if you find any issue therein that you do not get any report or anything, then you can very well report it into your LFR reporting. So this particular slide is with respect to system, with respect to process that we can carry out as an auditor. So first part is 10% outstanding, how to carry out audit. So this is what the second part that I am referring to, that first part you have used this LFR part, you have used for mentioning this one, right? Just the requirement list. And in the second part, you need to mention that how will you be approaching this issue, and how will you be carrying out this audit, right? So you can prepare also the way in which I have prepared. This is only for some guidance purpose, that for these many cases you can carry out process in this way, right? So this is how the things can be. For a quick mortality accounts, you need to have an account number and everything. So that is what is mentioned herein, right? MCLR, EBLR, credit rating, buyback. That is also an interesting point this time, right? See this, whether branch has identified, classified, advanced it into standard, substandard, doubtful. through the computer system without manual intervention, right? SMA 0. Now SMA 0, 1 and 2 identification whether done by system, right? So in that scenario, I would say that SMA 1 and 2 is purely on an delayed or an overdue payment, so that the system can take care of. But SMA 0 is having certain peculiar item whereby you cannot say that this information would be available under CBS. Let's take an example. Borrower reporting stress in the business and financials, right? So borrower को नहीं बैठ रहा है, वो प्रोजेक्शन सब हेवायर हो गए हैं, राइट? और प्रोजेक्शंस तो बहुत फैंसी बनाए थे और उसके बाद लिमिट उसके ऊपर से लिया था, लिमिट भी अभी पूरा एग्जॉस्ट कर दिया है, बट वो प्रोजेक्शन भी मैच नहीं हो रहे हैं. So that is what is early warning signal, and banks should devise a system whereby they would be reporting such kind of cases. Then comes whether NPA and upgradation from NPA is properly carried out. Then non-performing asset, whether branches obtain valuation report, right? This is with respect to principal and interest recovery. That is the hierarchy of or the flow of recovery. FCNRB. There is one point of minimum charges balance, whether the bank policy issued by Reserve Bank of India is followed or not. For charging of levy of charges on non-maintenance in savings account, right? So there is a detailed guidelines, I think a few years back, I think 14, they had issued, Reserve Bank of India has issued that guideline. We need to refer that part, right? So that is what on saving there. Now this does not contain all important all amendments, only few. I just wanted to show that we can carry out the work in this fashion, so that at least our system time and this time can be saved with that one, right? So what happens is that once you once you are into that one, that you feel that till last year you carried out audit in 2 to 3 days time, it's not possible this time to have it in 2 to 3 days time. It will take about 7 to 8 days to complete the audit under this revised LFR and CBI related the CBS related aspect. So you need to buck up, you need to start preparing your audit plans, and accordingly you can follow it up with the bank, and then you should be completing your audit uh, in a comprehensive manner, right? So please don't go without any preparation, otherwise it will happen that way, that while you start compiling information from or start compiling this LFR report, you will probably find that oh, I have not carried out this work or that work, right? So it shouldn't happen that way. If you have any questions, you can post it. I'd be happy to answer that.
Sir, there is one question in my chat box. What is the difference in IDMPS and EDMPS?
Okay. IDMPS system is for an import data and EDMPS is for export data. Both the systems are connected with RBI, DGFT, ports, airports, and will contain information for a particular this importer or exporter, IE code, based on IE code. So one is on import side, one is on export side.
And one query is how to export data to Excel for reporting.
That way you need to first refer to the bank's policy whether they allow export of data or not, because few of the systems we have observed that they have put an embargo that you cannot export information in soft copy into that one. That would be difficult. In that scenario, probably whether branch officials are having power or not, if they don't also have, then it will be a problem. But as far as if we go by that one, that if report can be accessed, let's say in Finacle, you can report access the report through PR menu, that is the print report menu. So you need to generate a report and then you need to press F10, and once you do an F10, you need to go to PR menu, and from PR menu you can press Control it twice and it will be exported. But that depends on whether bank has allowed that one or not, right? And in Finacle, what you need to do, Finacle 7 particularly, that you need to have an iLink web software running beside that, otherwise you will not be able to take any printout or any export, right? So that is one of the things. Then you get in the notepad and then you can convert it into an Excel.
Members, if they have any other queries, can raise their hand or post it into the chat box. We'll take up the queries. Pradeep ji, do you have any queries at your end? Anshul ji, आपके पास हैं क्या queries?
नहीं, Samang ji, I'm not having any query in my chat box.
Members can raise their hand. Also, if they want to ask any query, we will unmute them and they can ask the queries.
I think Samang ji, members are
There is no reason.
members have not. Yes. I think they have not posted any queries.
Not an issue. I think then we can proceed for the summing up this.
Just a minute. I don't have any queries now. Thank you very much, sir, for such a wonderful deliberation on the topic. I hope that the members would have been benefited from your deliberation, and this would help members in smooth conduction of bank audit. Now I would like to call upon C. Pradeep Mutreja, Treasurer, Bhopal branch, for his vote of thanks.
Thank you, Samang ji. Thank you, Kuntal ji. I'm very thankful on behalf of Bhopal branch that at the 11th hour you were there for the
I think
time, and members have been with.
Pradeep ji, there was a technical
Samang ji,
glitch.
any queries?
There was a technical glitch at your end.
Okay. My end. Okay, now I am audible.
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, thank you, Kuntal ji, and I am very thankful to our speaker today, Sri Kuntal Shah ji, for providing a wonderful deliberation, and members of Bhopal branch who have joined this webinar would definitely will be benefiting in their coming days for the bank audits. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I am thankful to all the members who have participated, and we are going to have another session scheduled today by 5 today, and we would expect all the members to be present there. And thank you to my the speakers and the members.
Thank you,
sir.
Kuntal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir. I am ending meeting for all.
Yeah,
Thank you for your deliberation, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.